is Monster Monday. And yes, for once I get to do it not in my garage because I didn't get called into work early today. Now, for this week, we're going to be looking at stuff other people have done to some extent. So for this episode, I'll be doing what I've not yet done on this channel, which is to review someone else's work. And to also alter it in a way that I think is a little bit better than what was originally there. And that also means on Writer Wednesday, I'll be doing a poem that's, something a little bit different as well. So maybe I'll be recreating an existing poem in Hebrew. I'm not going to sell it though, but just, for the sake of keeping to a theme. And maybe on Saturday I might end up looking for sad content other people have made in theme with that. Now, for those who have never heard of Ben Drowned, it's this, it was a very popular Majora's Mask, Legend of Zelda creepypasta back in the day. Or copypasta as it would have been called, because back then there was no such thing as creepypasta as we know it. And, okay, the author supposedly explained away the grammar with the fact he was probably doing it on very little sleep, which, okay, I get it, But there were other things, and I know that there's supposed to be kind of an unreliable narrator thing going here, but there was one line that I couldn't quite shake, which completely contradicted itself, from the very beginning. And it was that one line where he gets to that old man that just says, "Oh, hey, I have no idea what a video game was, but I have some in a box out back." How does that make sense? I mean, I know the guy's probably crazy, but considering his actions later in the story, he at least, has a sense of what he's doing. So I kind of went and altered that a little bit. Sorry if you hate that fact, but anyway, here's what it would have sounded like had he been, I guess, livid or more aware of what he was trying to write or say. Presumably this Jade usable. And so the revised version goes like this. Okay, X, I need your help with this. This is not a copypasta, this is a long read, but I feel like my safety or well-being could depend on this. This is video game related, specifically Majora's Mask, and this is the creepiest shit that has ever happened. Oh, by the way, before I go on, I should mention, there will be a lot of swearing in this story, so if you have any kids, no. They shouldn't be watching this. That has ever happened to me in my entire life. Having said that, I recently moved into my dorm room studying as a sophomore in college, and a friend of mine gave me his old Nintendo 64 to play. I was stoked to say the least. I could finally play all of those old games of my youth that I hadn't touched in at least a decade. His Nintendo 64 came with one yellow controller and a rather shoddy copy of Super Mario Bros. And while beggars can't be choosers, needless to say, it didn't take long until I became bored of beating up level 9 CPUs. That weekend I decided to drive around a few neighborhoods about 20 minutes or so off campus, hitting up local garage sales, hoping to score some good deals from ignorant parents. I ended up picking up a copy of Pokemon Stadium, GoldenEye, F-Zero, and two other controllers for $2. Satisfied, I began to drive out of the neighborhood when one last house caught my attention. I still have no idea why it did, as there were no cars there and only one table set up with random junk on it. But something sort of drew me there. I usually trust my gut on these things, so I got out of the car, and I was greeted by an old man. His outward appearance was, for lack of a better word, displeasing. It was odd. If you'd asked me to tell you why I thought he was displeasing, I couldn't really pinpoint anything. There was just something about him that put me on edge. I can't explain it. All I can tell you is that if it wasn't in the middle of the afternoon and there were other people within shouting distance, I would not have even thought of approaching this man. He flashed a crooked smile at me and asked what I was looking for, and immediately I noticed he must be blind in one of his eyes. His right eye had that glazed over look about it. I forced myself to look at his left eye instead, trying not to offend, and asked him if he had any old video games. I was already wondering how I could politely excuse myself from the situation when he told me he did not know why people liked video games, but he had a few of them in an old box and would be back in a jiffy. The old man turned to head back into the garage. As I watched him hobble away, I couldn't help but notice what he was selling on his table. Littered across the table were peculiar paintings, various artworks that looked like ink blots that a psychiatrist might show you. Curious, I looked through them. It was obvious why no one was visiting this guy's garage sale. These weren't exactly aesthetically pleasing. As I came to the last one, for some reason it looked almost like Majora's Mask. It had the same heart-shaped body with little spikes protruding outward. Initially, I just thought since I was secretly hoping to find the game at these garage sales, some Freudian bullshit was projecting itself into the ink blots. Still, given the events that happened afterwards, I'm not so sure now. I should have asked the man about it. I wish I would have asked the man about it. After staring at a Majora-shaped blot, I looked up and the old man was suddenly there again, arm's length in front of me, smiling at me. I'll admit I jumped out of reflex and laughed nervously as he handed me a Nintendo 64 cartridge. It was a standard gray color, except someone had written Majora on it in black permanent marker. I got butterflies in my stomach as I realized what a coincidence this was and asked him how much he wanted for it. The old man smiled at me and told me I could have it for free and that it used to belong to a kid who was about my age and didn't live here anymore. There's something weird about how the man phrased that, but I didn't really pay any attention to it then. I was too caught up in not only finding this game, but getting it for free. I reminded myself to be a bit skeptical since this looked like a pretty shady cartridge. There was no guarantee it would work, but then the optimist inside me interjected that maybe it was some kind of beta version or pirated version of the game. That was all I needed to be back on Cloud 9. I thanked the man, and the man smiled at me and wished me well, saying, "Goodbye, Ben." Ben, not Ben. At least that's what it sounded like to me. All the way in the car ride home, I had a nagging doubt that the man had said something else. My fears were confirmed when I booted up to the game. To my surprise, it worked just fine, and there was one save file named simply Ben. Goodbye, Ben? No, he was saying goodbye, Ben. I felt awful for the man, obviously a grandparent, obviously going senile, and I reminded him of his grandson Ben for some reason or another. Out of curiosity, I looked at the save file, and he was pretty far in the game. He had almost all of the masks and 3/4 remains of the bosses. I noticed that he had used an owl statue to save the game. He was on day 3 and at the Stone Tower Temple with hardly an hour left before the moon would crash. I remember thinking it was a shame he was so close to beating the game, but he never finished it. I made a new file named Link out of tradition and started the game ready to relive my childhood. For such a shady-looking game cartridge, I was impressed at how smoothly it ran. It felt literally just like a retail copy of the game, save for a few minor hiccups here and there, like textures being where they shouldn't be, random flashes of cutscenes at odd intervals, but nothing unbearable. However, the only thing that was a little unnerving at the time was the NPCs would call me Link, and at other times they would call me Ben. I figured it was just a bug, a fluke in the programming causing our files to get mixed up or something. It was kind of creepy. Once I beat the Woodfall Temple, I went to the save files and deleted Ben. I'd intended to preserve the file out of respect for the game's original owner. I was hoping that deleting the file would solve the problem. It stopped the NPCs from calling me Ben, but now NPCs wouldn't call me anything. Where my name should be in the dialogue, it was just a blank space. My save file was still called Link, though. Frustrated and with homework to do, I put the game down for a day. I started playing the game again last night, getting the lens of truth and working my way towards completing the Snowhead Temple. Now, some of you more hardcore Majora's Mask players know about the 4th day glitch. For those that don't, you can Google it, but the gist of it is, right as the clock is about to hit 000000 on the final day, you talk to an astronomer and look through the telescope. If you time it right, the countdown disappears and you essentially have another day to finish whatever you were doing. Deciding to do the glitch to finish the Snowhead Temple, I happened to get it right on the first try and the time counter at the bottom disappeared. However, when I pressed B to exit the telescope, instead of being greeted by the astronomer, I found myself in the Majora's boss fight room at the end of the game, that trippy boxed-in arena, staring at the Skull Kid hovering above me. There was no sound, just him floating in the air above me and the background music, which was regular for the area, but still creepy. Immediately my palms began to sweat. This is definitely not normal. Skull Kid never appeared here. I tried moving around the area, but no matter where I went, the skull kid would always be facing me, looking at me, not saying anything. Nothing would happen, though, and this kept up for around 60 seconds. I thought the game had bugged or something, but I was beginning to doubt that very much. I was about to reach for the reset button when the text on my screen, "You're not sure why, but you apparently had a reservation." I instantly recognized that text. You get that message when you get the room key from Andrew at the Stockpot Inn. But why was it playing here? I refused to entertain the notion that it was almost as if the game was trying to communicate with me. I started to navigate the room again, testing to see if it was some sort of trigger that enabled me to interact with something here. Then I realized how stupid I was to even think that someone could reprogram the game like this. It was absurd. Sure enough, 15 seconds later, another message appeared on the screen, and again, like the first one, it was already a pre-existing phrase. "Go to the lair of the temple's boss, yes or no?" I paused for a second, contemplating what I should press and how the game would react. When I realized that I couldn't select no, taking a deep breath, I pressed yes, and the screen faded to white, with the words "Dawn of a New Day" with subtext, bunch of vertical lines beneath it. Where I was ported to filled me with the most intense sense of dread and impending fear I'd ever experienced. The only way I could describe how it felt is this feeling of inexplicable depression on a profound scale. I usually am not a depressed person, but the way I felt here was a feeling that I didn't even know existed. It was such a twisted, powerful presence that seemed to wash over me. I appeared in some kind of weird Twilight Zone version of Clock Town. I walked out of the clock tower as you usually do when you start from day one, only to find that all the inhabitants were gone. Usually with the fourth day glitch, you can still see the guards and the dog that runs around outside the tower. This time they were all gone. What replaced them was an ominous feeling that there was something out there, in the same area as me, and that it was watching me. I had 4 hearts to my name and the hero's bow, but at this point I wasn't even considered for my avatar. I feel like I was personally in some kind of danger. Perhaps the most spine-chilling thing was the music, and the Song of Healing ripped straight from the game itself but played in reverse. The music would get louder, building up as if you should expect something to pop out at you, but nothing ever did, and the constant loop began to wear on my mental state. Every now and then, I would hear the faint laugh of the happy masked salesman in the background. Just quiet enough so that I wasn't sure if I was just hearing things, but just loud enough to keep me determined to find him. I looked in all 4 zones of Clocktown to see nothing, no one. Textures were missing. West Clocktown had me walking on air. The entire area felt broken, hopelessly broken. As the reverse Song of Healing repeated on what must have been the 50th time, I remember standing in the middle of South Clocktown, realizing I'd never felt so alone in a video game before. As I walked through the ghost town, I don't know whether it was the combination of the out-of-place textures and the atmosphere and the haunting melody of the once peaceful and soothing song being butchered and distorted. Still, I was literally on the verge of tears and had no idea why. I hardly ever cry, something that had gripped me here, and the powerful sense of depression that was both foreign and crippling. I tried leaving Clocktown, but every time I attempted to zone out, the screen would fade to black and I would just zone into another part of Clocktown. I tried playing my ocarina. I wanted to escape and did not want to be here, but every time I played the Song of Time or Song of Soaring, it would only say your notes echo far, but nothing happens. By this point, it was apparent the game didn't want me to leave, but I had no idea what was keeping me here. I didn't want to go inside the buildings. I felt I would be too vulnerable there to whatever I was terrified of. I don't know why, but I came up with the idea that maybe if I drowned myself at the laundry pool, I could spawn somewhere else and leave this place. As I zoned in and ran towards the pool, that's when it happened. Link grabbed his head and the screen flashed for a brief moment. The happy masked salesman smiling at me, not Link, me, with Skull Kid's scream playing in the background. And when the screen returned, I was staring at the Link statue from playing the song Elegy of Emptiness. I screamed as the thing just stared at me with that haunting facial expression. I turned around and ran out and back into South Clocktown. To my horror, the fucking statue followed me in the only way I can compare. This is like the weeping angels from Doctor Who. Every so often at random intervals, the animation would play the statue appearing behind me. It was like that thing was chasing me, or I don't even want to fucking say it, haunting me. By this point I was on the verge of hysterics, but not even once did the thought of turning off the console occur to me. I don't know why, I was so wrapped in it. The terror felt all so real. I tried to shake the statue, but it would literally appear right behind me every single time. Link started to make weird animations I'd never seen him do before. He'd flail his arms around or spasm randomly. The screen would cut to the happy mask salesman smiling again for a brief moment before I was face to face with that fucking statue. I ended up running into the Sword Master's dojo and ran to the back. I don't know why, but I just wanted some kind of assurance that I'm not alone in my panic. To my dismay, I found no one, but as I turned to leave, the statue cornered me in a cubby in the back. I tried attacking the figure with my sword, but to no avail. Confused and backed into a corner, I just stared at the statue, waiting for it to kill me. Suddenly, the screen flashed again to the happy mask salesman, and Link turned to face my screen, standing upright, mirroring the statue, looking at me along with his copy, literally staring at me. Whatever was left of the fourth wall was completely shattered when I ran into the dojo, terrified. Suddenly, the game warped me to an underground tunnel, and the reverse song of healing queued up again. I was given a brief moment of rest before the statue started appearing behind me also, this time aggressively. I could only take a few steps before it would summon behind me again. I hurriedly made my way out of the tunnel and appeared in southern Clocktown. As I ran aimlessly in sheer panic, and suddenly a redead screamed, and the screen faded to black as dawn of a new day, and a bunch of lines appeared again. Vertical lines, but yeah. The screen faded in, and I was standing on top of the clock tower with Skull Kid hovering over me again, silent. I looked up and the moon was back, looming just meters over my head. But the Skull Kid just stared at me hauntingly with that fucking mask. A new song was playing, the Stone Tower Temple theme played in reverse. In some sort of desperate attempt, I equipped my bow and fired off a shot at the Skull Kid. It actually hit him, and he played the animation of him reeling back. I fired again, and on the third arrow, the text box appeared saying, "That won't do you any good, hee hee." And I was picked up off the ground, levitated up on my back, and Link screamed as he burst into flames, instantly killing him. I jumped when this happened. I had never seen this move used by anyone in the game, and the Skull Kid himself didn't have any actions. As the death screen played, my lifeless body still burning, the Skull Kid laughed and the screen faded to black, only to have me reappear in the same place. I decided to charge him, but the same thing happened. Link's body was lifted off the ground by some unknown force, and he immediately burst into flames again, killing him. During the death screen, the faint sounds of the reverse song of healing could be heard. On my third and final try, I noticed that there was no music playing this time. There was an eerie silence. In the initial encounter with Skull Kid, I remembered that you're supposed to use the ocarina to either travel back in time or summon the giants. I attempted to play the Song of Time, but before I could hit the last note, Link's body once again horrifically exploded into flames and he died. As the death screen neared its end, it began to chug as if the cartridge was trying to process a lot of something. When the screen came to, it was the same scene as the first 3 times, except this time Link was lying on the ground, dead in a position I'd never seen in this game before. His head tilted towards the camera with the Skull Kid floating above him. I couldn't move, I couldn't press any buttons, all I could do was just stare at Link's dead body. After about 30 seconds of this, the game simply fades out with the message, "You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?" before kicking you out to the title screen. Upon getting back to the title screen and starting again, I noticed my save files were no longer there. Instead of Link, it was replaced with Your Turn. Your Turn had 3 hearts, 0 masks, and no items. I selected Your Turn, and immediately when I did, I was returned to the clock tower rooftop scene of my Link dead and the Skull Kid hovering over, with the Skull Kids laughing, looping again and again. I quickly hit the reset button when the game booted up again. There was one more save file added below Your Turn, entitled Ben. Ben's save file is right back where it was before I deleted it at the Stone Tower Temple, with the moon almost crashing. I turned off the game at that point. I'm not superstitious, but this is way too fucked up even for me. I haven't played it at all today. Hell, I didn't even get any sleep last night. I keep hearing the verse Song of Healing in my head and just remembering the sense of dread I felt exploring Clocktown. I drove back to the old man's house today to ask him some questions with a buddy of mine. No way was I going there alone. only to find that there was a for sale sign in the front yard, and when I rang the door, no one was home. Now I'm back here writing down the rest of my thoughts and recording what happened. Sorry if some of this has grammatical errors and whatnot. I'm running on no sleep here. I'm terrified of this game, and even more so that I relived it a second time writing this all down. But I feel like there's still more to it than meets the eye, and that something is calling to me to investigate this further. I think Ben is something in this equation, but I don't know what. And if I could get a hold of the old man, then I would be able to find some answers. I need another day or so to recuperate before tackling this game again. It has already taken a toll on my sanity. I feel like the next time I do this, I will be recording my footage all the way through. The idea to record only came to me towards the end, so you can see the last few minutes of what I saw, including Skull Kid and the elegy statue. But it's on YouTube here. By the way, I'm planning to repost some of those videos in the description so you guys can look at them at your leisure, just if you wanted to pause at appropriate moments to access them, or if you just wanted to see them later, up to you. I'll also link it back to the creepypasta.com thread as well, so you can read what he originally did, versus what I'm reading here that I edited. Okay, back to the story. I will stay in this thread a bit longer before I fall asleep to answer any questions you guys might have. Hopefully I can listen to your ideas or theories to shed some light on this, or maybe things I should try to do. I think I'm going to play Ben's file tomorrow to see what happens. Perhaps I was supposed to do that all along. I don't believe in paranormal shit, but this is a little fucked up. Maybe this Ben guy is just an excellent hacker programmer. I don't want to think about the alternatives if he isn't. That's the end of the copy paste. I'm hoping that maybe this is some kind of running gag. The developers had it, and other people have gotten gag or hacked copies of the game like this. It just really scares me. That was the end of part 1. I'm planning to do all of these parts in one sitting if I can. So this will probably be the longest video in my series so far. Ben Drowned, part 2, Ben. I'll post what happened in a link video footage, but everything got too real for me last night. I think I'm done messing around with this. I passed out pretty much immediately after making that thread, but last night, the Elegy of Emptiness statue, I had a dream about it. I dreamed it was following me in my dream, and that I would mind my own business when I'd feel my neck hair stand up on end. I'd turn around, that horrible lifeless statue would be standing at me with those empty eyes right at me, merely inches away. I remembered calling it Ben, and never before had I had a dream I could remember so vividly, but the important thing is I did get some sleep, I suppose. Today, putting off playing the game as long as I could, I drove back up to the neighborhood to see if the old man came back. As expected, the car was still gone and no one was home. As I was walking back to my car, the man next door mowing the grass killed the power on his lawnmower and asked me if I was looking for someone. I told him I was looking to talk to the old man that lived there, which he told me what I already knew. He was moving. Trying a different avenue, I asked if the old man had any family or relatives I could talk to. I discovered this old man had never been married, nor did he have any children or grandchildren through adoption. Starting to become worried, I asked one final question, one that I should have asked from the beginning. Who was Ben? The man's expression turned grim. And I learned that 4 doors down, around 8 years ago on April 23rd, the man informed me that it was the same day as his anniversary. That's how I remember the specific date. There was an accident with a young boy named Ben in the neighborhood. Shortly after his parents moved, and despite any further attempts to talk to the man to get more information, he wouldn't divulge anything else. I started playing again, loaded up the game, and immediately jumped at the title screen where the mask flies by. The sound that played was not the usual whoosh sound. It was something much more higher pitched. I pressed start, bracing for the worst, but just like 2 nights ago, the files Your Turn and Ben were displayed. Truth be told, I looked at the Ben file earlier. It seems to fluctuate between showing the owl save and not. I brought up the Ben file and hesitated for a moment, noticing the stats were not the same as they were originally 2 days ago. It seemed like he had already completed the Stone Tower Temple this time. Summoning my courage, I selected it. Immediately, I was thrust into complete chaos. Sure enough, I was outside the Stone Tower Temple, but that's about all that was expected. The zone itself wasn't called Stone Tower Temple, but rather E. And immediately, a dialogue box of complete gibberish I couldn't make out greeted me. Link's body was distorted. His back was cocked violently to the side, where his posture was permanently disfigured. Link's expression was dull, almost monotonous. He had an expression on his face that I didn't recognize before. It was a blank look, as if he was dead. As Link stood there, his body spasmed irregularly back and forth. I examined what had become of my avatar and noticed I had a C button item I hadn't seen before. Some kind of a note, but pressing it did nothing. Sounds played back and forth that I didn't recognize from the game. Almost demonic in nature, and there was some kind of high-pitched yip or some kind of laugh or something playing in the background. I had all of 2 minutes to take the environment before another one of those fucking Elegy of Emptiness statues was summoned. Immediately after, I was cut into Dawn of a New Day screen, except this time without the vertical line subtext. I was a Deku scrub in Clocktown. The scene would usually play after the first time you traveled back in time. Tuttle would say, "What just happened?" as if everything has. But instead of saying "started over," she finished her remark in broken text as the laugh of the Happy Mask Salesman played in the background. I was put back in control of my character, but from a fucked up camera angle, I was looking from behind the door to the clock tower, watching my avatar run around as a Deku scrub, seeing as how I really had no place to go because I couldn't see anything. I begrudgingly went inside the door. There I was greeted by the Happy Mask Salesman, who simply told me, "You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?" before the screen whited out. I was in the Termina field as a human again. I might as well not have been playing the same game anymore. I was being warped around and there was no sign of a day clock or anything. It took a moment to get my bearings as I looked around the field. And immediately I could tell this was not normal. There were no enemies, only a twisted version of the Happy Mask Salesman theme was playing. For those who don't know, it's that or something to that effect. I decided to run towards the woodfall, but before I noticed a gathering of 3 figures off to the side, one of them being Epona. As I approached them, I saw the Happy Mask Salesman, the Skull Kid, and the Elegy of Emptiness statue just standing there to my horror. I figured maybe they were bugged out, but I told myself I should know better by now. Nevertheless, I approached them carefully and found that the Skull Kid played some kind of idle animation on loop. Same with Epona. The Elegy of Emptiness statue was doing what it's been doing all along, just standing there eerily. It was the Happy Mask Salesman that scared me more profoundly than the other 2. He too was idle, wearing that shit-eating grin. But whenever I moved, his head slowly turned and followed me. I had not engaged in any dialogue with him, nor was I in combat with him. Yet his head still continued to track my movements. It reminded me of my first encounter with the Skull Kid on top of the clock tower. I pulled out my ocarina, to which the game played a ding sound when you're supposed to play your ocarina, and tried a song I hadn't played yet, the Happy Mask Salesman's own song. The song that had been playing on loop back on day 4, the Song of Healing. I finished playing the song, and as I did, an ear-piercing shriek blasted on my TV. The sky immediately started flashing. The Happy Mask Salesman's twisted theme song sped up, intensifying the fear inside of me. Lincoln exploded into flames and died. The 3 figures stayed lit up during my death screen as they watched my lifeless body burn. I can't describe to you how sudden and terrifying the transition from eerie to terror is. You're going to have to watch the video if you want to see it firsthand. That same fear that caused me to lose sleep 2 days ago started to grip me again as I was met with the text, "You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?" for the 3rd time. There has to be some kind of meaning behind that. I had a little time to ponder as I was immediately given another small cutscene transforming into Azora, and I now found myself at the Great Temple Bay, hesitant but curious to see what the game had in store for me. I slowly made my way towards the beach where I found Epona. I wonder why the game had decided to put her here. Was the game implying she was trying to get a drink, unable to take the mask off? I decided that riding the steed wasn't why she was placed there. I suddenly realized that Epona kept neighing, and the way she was angled made it look like she was trying to signal to point me off in the distance. It was a hunch, but I dove into the Great Bay and started swimming. Sure enough, I almost missed it. I found something at the bottom of the ocean. One last Elegy of Emptiness statue. I went down to examine it. Suddenly my Zora started doing a choking animation I'd never seen a Zora do before. Which didn't even make sense because Zora can breathe underwater. Regardless, my character choked to death and died, and again the statue was the only thing that was highlighted in my demise. It didn't respond this time. Or, I didn't respond this time. I was booted back to the main menu as if I restarted the console. The press start screen was before me, and I knew the only reason it would put me here is that the save files had changed again. Taking a deep breath, I pressed start and I was right. The new save files told me about Ben, and it made sense why the statue appeared when I tried to go to the laundry pool. The game must have anticipated how I would have tried to escape the day 4 clock town. The 2 save files told me his fate, as I suspected. Ben was dead, he had drowned. The game obviously isn't through with me. It taunts me with the new save files. It wants me to keep playing. It wants me to go further. But I'm done with this shit. I'm not touching any more of the files. This is already way too horrifying for me. I don't even believe in the paranormal. I'm running out of explanations. Why would someone send me this message? I don't understand it. I just get too depressed thinking about this. The footage is there for those that want to see it and try and analyze it. Maybe there's some kind of coded message in the gibberish or something symbolic in what I went through. I'm too emotionally and mentally drained to fuck with it anymore. Been Drowned Part 3. Drowned. I know it's early in the morning. I've stayed up all night. I can't sleep. I don't care if people see this. That's not the point. I just want the word to get spread so I don't suffer for nothing. I've lost the will to type about this. The less I dwell on this, the better. I think the video speaks for itself. I did what you guys told me to do. I played the Elegy of Emptiness song at the first prompt by the game I was given. But I think that's just what the gamer Ben, Jesus Christ, I can't believe I'm even humoring the absurd idea that he exists in the game, wanted me to do. He's following me now, not just in the game, he's in my dreams. I see him all the time behind my back, just watching me. I haven't gone to any of my classes. I've stayed in my dorm room, windows closed and the blinds shut. That way, I know he can't watch me, but he still gets me when I play. When I play, he can see me. The game is scaring me now. It talked to me for the first time, not just using the text that's already in the game. It spoke to me, talked to me. It referenced Ben, it said to me. And I don't know what it means. I don't know what it wants. I never wanted this. I just want my old life back. Stuff like this doesn't happen to people like me. I'm just a kid, not even old enough to drink yet. It's not fair. I want to go home. I want to see my parents again. I'm so far away from home here. I just want to hug my mom again. I just want to forget the statue's horrible blank face. Original game file is back, just the way I left it before it was gone. I don't want to play anymore. I feel like something terrible will happen, but if I don't, but that's impossible. It's a video game. Haunted or not, it can't hurt me, right? Like, seriously though, it can't. That's what I keep telling myself, but every time I think about it, I'm not so sure. Been Drowned, Part 4 by Jade Usable. Let me just clear things up. I know you guys are worried, but Jade Usable is okay. He finished moving out today and he said he's going back home. He's just taking a semester off. I'm not sure what happened, but I have a vague idea. You probably know more than I do. I'm Jade Usable's roommate, and obviously I knew something was wrong with him for a few days now. He stayed in his room all the time, fell out of contact with literally all his friends, and I'm pretty sure he hadn't been eating hardly anything. After the second day, I couldn't stay in there anymore, so I've been crashing at a buddy's place, only coming to the room to get stuff I need. Tried talking to him several times, but he'd cut me off or keep the conversation brief when I asked about his strange behavior. It's like he was convinced something was hunting him. Yesterday I grabbed my philosophy book and he approached me looking awful, like horrible bags under his eyes. He handed me a flash drive, gave me specific instructions, and explained what was going on. Jade Usable gave me the login information for his YouTube account. He's leaving here and said it lured him to play. It lured him to play. He said he shouldn't have changed anything and refused to alter anything else. I'm to upload the footage and inform people what happened. I told him that he could do it himself, and he got this wild look in his eye that told me he's never looking at that game again. And that's the last thing he said to me. He never even said bye. When his parents came to pick him up, I never even got to meet his parents. I honestly can't tell you what happened. When Jade Usable spoke, it was kind of hard to understand him, and his fucked up appearance really distracted me. On the flash drive, there was footage of the game last night, a text document with his name and a password for YouTube, and a third document called the truth.txt, containing what he told me were his notes he'd taken. He said to me this meant everything to him, that I follow his instructions strictly. Usually I'd not be so to the letter for a request over a fucking video game, but the way he spoke and how he looked made me know that he was really serious, and I was going to honor that. And I'm going to honor that. Since yesterday I've had the video, but I've had to have someone help me use Pinnacle. It's not really my forte. After watching it, I had to go back through and look at his other videos on his YouTube account to realize what was going on. Even then, I'm really confused. The video I'm releasing tonight, the truth.txt, will be released on September 15th, just like he requested. I haven't dared peek at it yet, so the first time I see it will be the first time you see it out of respect to my friend. To answer your question, no, I haven't tried calling him yet. I think I'll give him a call tomorrow to see if he's okay or not. He should have gotten back home by now. In this video, I cut straight to where he loaded the Ben file in the game. Looking back, I realized that JDusable left the Save Select screen because it's a different name sometimes, so my bad for that. But all it said this time was the same as the end of his last video, Link and Ben. Nothing different. I wasn't there when he played it, but it looks to me like in the beginning when he first spawns, he's testing out his equipment or seeing what items he has or something, because apparently they've changed randomly before. Then after that, I think the game just got too personal for him. Ben Drowned, Part 5, The Truth. Hey guys, JDusable here. This will be the last time you'll be hearing from me. This is my final gift to you. These are the notes that I've taken and the realizations I've made. Before I delve into this, I want to thank you for following me and thank you for listening. It feels like a weight of a mighty burden is about to be lifted. By the time you read this, I won't be around anymore, but after spending 4 days with this maddening game, I've begun to understand what's really at play here. Hopefully after reading this, we can ensure this never happens again. There are things that I could not share with you while this was going on due to circumstances which I'll explain. With Ben blocking any attempt I made to try and relay the truth to you, I tried ever so subtly to warn you guys in various ways. Amidst the chaos and my delirium, I devised to make a barely noticeable pattern in my videos. In all 5 videos I recorded over 4 days, I've either had the Mask of Truth interacted with the Gossip Stone or the Lens of Truth equipped at some point. These are all symbols of honesty and trustworthiness for you Zelda enthusiasts, and I hope you have picked up on the reference. As I played the file, which I would name Ben, being mindful of how Ben was watching over my every move in the game, I made a point to avoid doing anything too obvious. Still, I sent out a hidden message to you guys. I never equipped the lens, nor the mask, nor visited the stone. It worked, and the video was uploaded. I prayed that someone would notice the pattern didn't apply to Ben. The tags followed suit too. I hope you guys paid attention to those as well. They were my little messages to you. They were nothing big enough to catch Ben's attention or make him suspect anything. With Ben manipulating and changing my files, I honestly hope what you guys saw was close to what actually happened. Still, there's no way for me to know. This may be a long read, but I don't have time to proofread or make all my research pretty, but here it all is. Yeah, he didn't, but I did. Because I have no life. Okay. 11 p.m. September 6th, 2010, 11 p.m. I can't believe what happened. Not sure if this is some kind of an elaborate hoax. Despite the fear, I can't help but be exceptionally curious about this. Who or what is the statue? A lot of questions here. I'm starting to document as a diary so I can keep track of everything. I'm typing a summary of what happened so I can come back to it later. September 7th, 2010, 2:10 a.m. Summary was posted here. You can go back to it and look at my first post for day 4.wmv for that. 4:23 a.m. I can't sleep. I've been trying so hard, but the harder I try, I just get more restless. I just feel like that statue is appearing whenever I close my eyes. 8:20 a.m. Didn't sleep at all, just gonna start my day. Don't think I have the energy to go to class today. I'm gonna drive back down to talk to that old man, taking my buddy Tyler with me just in case. 1:18 p.m. Back home now, there was no sign of the old man. It is bizarre that he appears to be moving the next day. Maybe the for sale sign was up there yesterday and I just didn't notice it. Tyler wants to know what's gotten me all worked up. I didn't tell him. Going to eat, feel like death. 3:46 p.m. Could have sworn driving back from Subway that I saw the elegy statue buried in some shrubbery staring at me go by. Now I definitely need sleep. 5 o'clock p.m. I don't think many people would believe me if I told them about what's happening. I suppose I'm going to try posting this on the internet. Guess I'll use the summary. These notes are pretty sporadic. 6 o'clock p.m. Connected my capture card to my computer to upload the footage. Thought my computer froze for a second, made this strange popping sound when I hooked everything up. But now it seems to be working fine again. My computer can't die on me now. 7 o'clock p.m. Footage just finished uploading. The quality's a lot better than I thought it would be. Gee, I guess this is a great cartridge. I'd never had it come through this clear before. 8:45 p.m. I thought I saw an icon pop up on my desktop that looked like the statue's face for a split second, which gave me quite a scare. Getting really unnerved and delirious. I'm going to crash after this. 9 o'clock p.m. Began uploading my YouTube video on an alternate account. 9:03 p.m. I don't remember having uploaded a Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines video last year. This is probably the account I shared with my friend last summer. I hope he doesn't mind using it to upload this. 9:55 p.m. Posting my summary of day 4 with a link to the YouTube video. I'm going to try to stay awake, but I'm so tired right now. You and me both, Jade. September 8th, 2010. 10:48 a.m. I had a dream about the statue. I dreamed that it was following me in my dream and that I would mind my own business. When I'd feel my neck hair stand up on end, I would turn around, that horrible lifeless statue would be staring at me with those empty eyes. Right into my soul, merely inches away. In my dream, I remember calling it Ben. Power of suggestion, most likely, and never before had I had a dream I could remember so vividly. 11:21 a.m. I really don't want to play this game again. I think I'm going to go back to see if that old man is there instead. 1:35 p.m. No old man, but had an interesting conversation with his neighbor. I'll post the whole thing with a summary of tonight's attempt at playing the game. Gonna wait for a bit though and see if I can't dig up any information on this Ben guy. 2:45 p.m. I've been getting random inexplicable headaches due to a lack of sleep, and I keep hearing that song in my head. Also, it's flu season, so I need to be careful not to get sick. My immune system is going to be shit right now because of that all-nighter. 3 o'clock p.m. Nothing. 3:02 p.m. My computer just on its own opened a text document and wrote the words hi and www.cleverbot.com by itself. What the fuck? 3:46 p.m. I went to the website. It's one of those bot chatting programs. I think it's best if I just let the conversation speak for itself. September 8th, 2010 conversation. User, hello. Cleverbot, hello. User, who is this and how are you able to control my computer? Cleverbot, say, who am I? User said, right, I forgot you're a bot. Cleverbot said, do you really think that? User said, listen, I know whoever's fucking with my computer can see my screen right now. Cleverbot said, yes. User said, yeah, and I'll wager you're one of those IT kids who thinks he's tough shit. You know what you're doing right now is illegal, right? Cleverbot said, is it? User said, no shit, are you familiar with the terms invasion of privacy? Get the fuck off my computer, kid. Cleverbot said, I am your computer. User said, cool story. Anyway, I'm calling DPS. You picked the wrong time to fuck with me, kid. Cleverbot said, should I wait until you play the game then? User said, what? That game. User, Majora's Mask? Cleverbot said, yes. User said, how did you know about that? Cleverbot said, because. User said, because what? Cleverbot said, I did it. User said, did what? Cleverbot said, I played with you. User said, what the fuck? Cleverbot said, were you scared? User said, who the fuck is this? Cleverbot said, Ben. User said, the statue, you're inside my computer now? Cleverbot said, yes. User said, how? Cleverbot said, you connected me. User said, how the hell did I connect to you? Cleverbot said, cables and cords. User said, how? Cleverbot said, tell me about yourself. User said, what? Cleverbot said, tell me about yourself. User said, what do you mean? Cleverbot asked, what is it that really scares you? User said, what the fuck? Cleverbot said, answer. User said, no. Cleverbot said, answer. User said, what the fuck? How the fuck did you just open that by yourself? Cleverbot said, I'm on your computer now. User said, how much can you control? Cleverbot said, all. User said, what do you want from me? Cleverbot said, I want to entertain. User said, you're stuck in there, you can't hurt me. Cleverbot said, ha. User's like, what? Cleverbot said, go play. User said, no, you can't hurt me. Cleverbot said, it took you longer to type that. User said, so? Cleverbot said, you're not sure. You're so powerful, why use a ridiculous website like this to chat with me? Cleverbot said, less messy, more structured, fun. User said, fun? Cleverbot said, yes, tradition, I like it. User said, do you think it's funny? Cleverbot said, amusing. User said, in my notes? Cleverbot said, you may write them down. User said, why are you letting me? Cleverbot said, it's amusing to see what you think of me. Window closes. 3:50 p.m. What have I done? I've invited it to my computer. I continue to write these notes, write my summaries. I feel like I'm a prisoner in my one place of security. I don't know. I don't know if I'm hallucinating or not. I feel like I'm fucking insane right now. I can feel it watching over me, even as I type this. Ben is controlling everything in the game, toying with me, leading me like a sheep, but for what? What's the purpose? I know Ben drowned, but why these hauntings? What the fuck am I even doing? It can probably even see this right now. 4:35 p.m. Summary of Ben.wmv playthrough. 7:18 p.m. Ben called me to Cleverbot again. He tells me that he's sorry and just wants to be free, and that I can free him just like how he got on my computer from the capture card. He can spread, but he needs my help. He said I'm special because I can help him. That's the first nice thing he has said. He promises to leave me alone if I do it. He swears he will. I don't know what to think right now. Can I even trust this thing? 7:20. I'm terrified of it, but now it says that it was just having fun. It's twisted and fucked up version of fun. Ben's saying the game is over. I do want it to be over. He says that he just wants to be free. He's trapped in the cartridges in my computer and wants to be freed. I don't want to have to deal with this shit. I don't know how much longer I can deal with the watching. It's watching my every move, every keystroke. I have nothing private anymore. It knows everything that's been on my computer. It tells me that it can do horrible things to me if it wanted to, but it hasn't. So should I trust it? 8:01 p.m. Something tells me I'm being played again, just like in the game. 9:29 p.m. Ben called me to Cleverbot again. I ignored it and went to go take a shower. When I came to my laptop, I was welcomed with the elegy statue's image staring at me with those dead eyes. I don't want to talk to him. 9:44 p.m. Fuck you, Ben, I'm not talking to you. 9:56 p.m. Fuck you, Ben, I'm not talking. 10:06 p.m. Fuck you, Ben, I'm not talking to you. 10:12 p.m. Fuck you, Ben, I'm not talking to you. 10:45 p.m. It's been more than half an hour and the messages have stopped. Ben has stopped. I'm beginning to think that Ben isn't confined to just my computer cartridge. I'm starting to feel something. It's hard to explain it. I've never been spiritual, but there's something different about the air in my dorm room now. 11:42 p.m. I'm beginning to see the elegy statue randomly as I search the internet in places I shouldn't. Places where he shouldn't be. I'd be scrolling down and suddenly I'd be staring at a picture of the elegy statue. Always the elegy statue. I don't know how much more of this I can take. Kind of reminds me of those stalking ads you might see if you look for something but then you ultimately don't buy it and then it follows you on every web page. Scary to think that was feasible back then. September 9th, 2010. 12:35 a.m. My worst fears confirmed. Ben has tampered with my summary of Ben.wmv. I looked at the summary I posted on various forums, but the Ben.wmv file and parts have been omitted. There's no mention of Ben existing outside the game. There's no mention of the Moon Children. How could he have been that quick to delete the post without me noticing? I wondered if it appeared to me that I was posting everything, but Ben posted his own censored version in reality. I'm going to ask Ben why he did it. 12:50 a.m. He isn't responding to me on Cleverbot. It's just giving me the generic responses it usually does. I'm just talking to a bot this time. 1:24 a.m. I think Ben is mad at me. 10:43 a.m. The moon children appeared in my dreams last night. They lifted their masks to reveal their hideously disfigured faces, maggots crawling out of their orifices, sunken black holes where their eyes should be, a yellow smile that slowly grew bigger and bigger as they came closer to me. They told me that they wanted to play. I tried to run from them, but the 4 children pinned me down to the ground with surprising strength. Over them stood the happy masked salesman, announcing he had a new mask that he wanted me to try. In his spazzy sudden movements, matching his in-game appearance, he took the face cover modeled off someone's face that I couldn't recognize, a younger-looking face, and handed it to the moon children. Giggling, they latched it to my face. Broken bodies bouncing up and down, 2 of them held me down while the other 2 began to sew the mask onto my face. My shrieks and screams caused the happy masked salesman's face to turn the most horrific smile I'd ever seen. Sporadically moved around, examining the procedure like a curious doctor. In the impossible movement, I flailed around, but it was no use. My eyes rolled in the back of my head because of the pain. It felt so real, but I couldn't wake up. I couldn't wake up, no matter how hard I tried. I couldn't wake up. After the mask was melded into my flesh, they began sewing my legs together, then my arms. And a horrible feeling of a needle puncturing your legs and pulling them together, pulling them in, rupturing your Achilles tendons and tying them together resonated throughout my entire body. I tried to scream, but the mask was pressed so tightly against my face that it was my new face. And my new face had no mouth. It didn't make a sound. I tried telling myself in my head that I was dreaming. Tried telling myself again and again. Suddenly the moon children stopped and looked at me. They just stared, and the happy masked salesman slowly bent down and stared at me inches away from my face and grinned. He simply said, "You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?" Before the moon children resumed with increased vigor. I couldn't wake up. It wouldn't let me wake up until they'd crafted me into another elegy statue. I woke up sweating, crying, shaking uncontrollably. I ran to my computer and went for Ben. September 9th, 2010, Conversation 1. User, answer me, Ben. Cleverbot said, welcome back. User said, what's the point of doing this? Why? Cleverbot said, amusing to see. User said, how? Cleverbot said, fun to play with you, make you feel safe. User said, ellipses. Cleverbot said, I wonder how you would have reacted. User said, to what? Cleverbot said, if I hadn't revealed myself and stayed hidden, only doing little things to play with you, close out your windows, turn off your computer, move your mouse by itself. Little things make you wonder if I'm there, but you never know. Give you little hints that I am. Cleverbot said, I wanted to do something different with you. User said, you did this before? Cleverbot said, yes, and I will do it again. User said, to who, Ben? Cleverbot said, User said, did you know Ben? Cleverbot said, I won't tell that information to you. User said, how did Ben die? Cleverbot said, you know. User said, no, but how did he drown? Cleverbot said, won't tell that to you. User said, why? Cleverbot said, it's reserved for another. User said, who? Cleverbot said, another who asks. User said, when? Cleverbot said, later. The window was closed. I'm beginning to think that this thing maybe isn't Ben at all. And in its sadistic nature, I wouldn't be surprised if it took the boy's name after it killed him. 12:04 p.m. My room is beginning to feel different again. There's something out there. I feel really threatened, like something is trying to reach out and strangle me, but it can't quite get there. 12:46 p.m. I think Ben doesn't want to play with me anymore. I'll play again. I'll play the game also. Ben, can you see this? I'll play the game again. Please, just stop this. Please. Please. 1:41 p.m. I'm going insane trying to decide what is real and what isn't. Is Ben just playing a trick on me, or is this for real? Is Ben generating these replies, or are people actually posting them? Did I just see that screen flicker, or was it my imagination? Imagine being on the internet and trusting your eyes for your entire life, then being blinded. You can't rely on it anymore. You second guess everything. For the brief moments I am looking at my responses to the videos, people were pointing out things that looked fake or photoshopped or whatever. There's literally no way for me to know if Ben changed something on purpose to try to shut me up, or if those replies were just constructed by Ben to try and discourage me from even reaching out. See, I get caught in an infinite mindfuck loop like this, and this is what has been wearing on my sanity and pushing me to the edge. As I'm writing this, there's no way of even telling if anyone even cares as much as I think they do. Just another fucking trick. Is this whole Does this whole document even exist? Am I writing nothing? 9-9... Okay, September 9th, 2010, Conversation 2. User, what is this? What's the point of playing? I perish whenever I do anything. Clearbot said, you die because you can't figure out the secret. User said, what? Clearbot said, thematic. User said, what the fuck are you talking about? Clearbot said, there's beauty in your suffering. The window's closed. 4:09 p.m. Ben is making me play the game again. It tells me that it has something significant to show me. 6:23 p.m. Summary of drown.wmv playthrough. 9:09 p.m. Summary of children.wmv playthrough. September 10th, 2010. 11:52 a.m. The drown.wmv playthrough was up when I woke up today. I remember typing it up, but I don't ever remember posting it. He censored it again. There's no mentioning of the old man. I have no voice anymore. I'm only posting what he wants me to. I'm the mask he uses to disguise himself as he lies. 11:55 a.m. There's an entire video summary of video I don't remember doing. Reading through the overview, it sounds morbid, resembling my dream from 2 nights ago, except on a far more sadistic scale. These moon children, there's something more to them, as if they're another entity from Ben. Something happened last night that I can't remember. I'm posting the 4th summary to my forums now. The shadow of my chair moved. 12 p.m. Ben won't let me visit YouTube. I can browse the rest of the sites, but he keeps exiting the window when I go to YouTube. Why? 2:02 p.m. I'm feeling the air start to constrict. I don't think I'm alone here. Whatever aura has been there has been getting more violent. 2:44 p.m. I'm trying to contact Ben on Cleverbot. He's not responding. I just get the AI. 3:51 p.m. My ears aren't fooling me. I hear the reverse song of healing. I keep hearing it. 4:23 p.m. Now I'm positive of it. Earlier I thought it was a weird coincidence, but now I went to open my window and 3 floors down at the ground level I saw the old man. I'm entirely positive I did. It's the same guy. He was just staring up at my window, standing in the middle of campus. If any students took notice of him, they didn't seem to acknowledge it. That's where my notes end. I fled my room, taking the cartridge with me. I don't want to detail what happened. I'll lose my train of thought as I hammer out these last details. It's been roughly 2 days since then. This is my final summary and service to all of you in the final video you guys saw, Matt.wmv. The last video entry I made, Matt.wmv, began as normal. I was spawned in Clock Tower as usual, and nothing seemed to be out of place. Determined to set things right and to play the Oath to Order. On top of the Clock Tower on the 4th day, I prepared myself. I sped up time and got to the final day, making my way to the observatory. As I got up to the telescope room and approached the astronomer, he would not let me look into his telescope. He told me that it would be cheating, and that I should follow the rules. Despite my repeated efforts, the game would not let me do the 4th day glitch, no matter how hard or what I tried. I tried working around the game and doing the glitch, but it was adamant this time. Regardless of if I simply had the illusion of free will in previous games, this time the game had become more aggressive than anything I'd ever seen. It eventually told me to go to Kanya Canyon, where the game would end and it would stop haunting me. Anxious and desperate to end this nightmare, I played the Song of Soaring and ended up there. I was told to check my inventory and find the answers there to end the game. I arrived at a canyon and saved my progress at the owl statue. As I searched through my inventory, I finally noticed that I missed a recurring song, The Elegy of Emptiness. Obviously, once I traveled there and learned the song, I suppose that was the last thing it needed before Ben decided it had enough fun playing with me. Ben is a manipulator. He tries to fool his victims into security and makes you drop your guard like a Venus flytrap. He ensnares them. I'm nothing but a puppet to him. He enjoys seeing what kind of human emotions he can tap into by doing different things. There are still some things about this whole experience that don't make sense, but then again, I was never good at figuring out these things, and I'm not exactly in the right state of mind to. I'm giving you all pieces of the puzzle for you to analyze and piece together the missing links. I'm typing these closing thoughts in my library on a library computer on campus, and I've emailed myself the notes I've stored on my infected computer from the last 4 days. I'm then going to combine and copy-paste those notes with closings/openings I've typed here on the safe public computer into one text document. I'm not taking any chances of spreading Ben. I would not wish this horrible torment on anyone, and I've made sure to have my bases covered here. I didn't run into any problems with Ben when I was back on my computer trying to email myself the notes. It went right under his fucking nose. He has no idea what he's just let me do. He had no problems opening the text document for my infected computer or my email either. I cannot describe to you how it feels to finally be able to get the word out on this post. The nightmare ends here. That said, do not download any videos or anything about my videos. Though a YouTube video audio ripper, through a video audio ripper, a screen grab, or whatever. I don't know how it can spread, but I know that just watching them on YouTube and reading my text won't be able to allow him to move. Otherwise, he wouldn't have needed my help initially. But I strongly recommend you do not take anything you see streaming online onto your own personal computer. This will be my last posting. I'm putting it up on this forum here for the world. If you do see any further posts from me after today's current date, September 12th, and after the current time, 12:08 a.m., discredit them. It is already proven to me that Ben can access my account and password and manipulate my computer. And like I said, I have no idea to what extent it can do this, but know that it will do anything to break free. He is desperate. To ensure your safety, just forget about me, please. Obviously, this goes without saying, but do not download any images I may have put up or any other files from here on out. This 5th day will be my last day. I will burn the cartridge and come back to destroy my laptop. Again, even though I don't even know you, this is sort of bittersweet for me. This semester, I really didn't have any friends, or rather, I stopped paying attention to them. But I suppose that's partially to blame because I'm the genius who picked to live in a single. I wish someone had gotten a hold of me and saved me before being too immersed in this game. It would have literally saved my life. However, it proved to be too much for me. I'm just glad it happened to me and I could get the warning out so that Ben dies here. Lastly, thank you for taking the time to open this and open yourselves up to me by hearing my story, despite maybe not believing me. You didn't have to do that, really. You shouldn't. Whew. And that was Ben Drowned. Final thoughts? It's really good. I mean, even with the 500 plus grammatical or clarity things I had to fix in Grammarly, it was really well put together, and I haven't actually looked at the videos myself, but I'm sure they're pretty good. You know, at kind of giving you another avenue. That's why I'm planning to put them into the description alongside my usual stuff. And if you want to see more, content like this, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, the usual YouTube stuff, and click that little bell there so you'll get all the notifications, or as many as you can stand. And if you have anything you want me to read next week for this particular segment, let me know. I've got my Twitter handle there. I've got my Telegram. So yeah, with that, this has been the Forsaken Scribe out. And remember, Mom's not here, kids.